Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. Lee Iacocca didn't walk like a car guy. He didn't dress like one either. Lee, dirty legends of Detroit, put their hands in car engines. Iacocca carried a briefcase. He wore a suit. And, instead of fixing car parts, he studied people, what they did, what they wanted, and most importantly, their dreams. Born to Italian parents, Dresden, Pennsylvania, Iacocca wasn't given anything for free. He got a job at Ford through hard work and a brain that moved faster than most engines on the assembly line. But inside the cold wooden halls of Ford headquarters, he wasn't seen as one of them. He was a salesperson, a smooth talker, a number guy. It's a kind of person who could sell a car but not build one. And yet that's exactly what he wanted to do. In the early 1960s, America's young people were changing. Rock and roll, drive-in movies, high school car races. Iacocca saw it all coming like a big train. He believed it, the next big car wouldn't be for families. It would be for freedom. Something cool, fast, cheap. A car that looked like being bad but came with payments a kid could afford. But when he brought this idea to Ford's top bosses, they laughed. "We build serious cars," they said. "Big cars with big engines and importance. Nobody wants a toy." One boss reportedly said. Iacocca smiled innocently. But inside something clicked. They weren't just saying no to an idea. They were saying no to him, okay? And in that moment, Lee Iacocca made a decision. Ford wouldn't give him a chance to build future. He'd build it in secret. One phone call, one friend at a time. He began putting together a team that would change car history. And no one at Ford even saw it coming. By 1962, Lee Iacocca was no longer just a young new guy. He'd proven himself in sales, engineering, talking, and product planning. He had the attention of upper management and a fire in his belly. The moment had come. At a product meeting inside Ford's steel headquarters, Iacocca stood before a table of the company's most powerful people and gave what he thought was a great pitch. The idea? A small, sporty, cheap car aimed at the under 30 market. A car that would mix European style with American power. A car that wasn't built for the family, but for the thrill seeker, the first-time buyer, the rebel. He even suggested a price. Under $2,500. Never heard of for a car with style, speed, and attitude. The response? Laughter. Spasts leaned back in their leather chairs and hooked their heads. One senior boss said straight out, "We sell big cars. We don't need a student car." Others made fun of the idea of targeting kids with no credit and no power. "Where's the money?" they asked. "Where's the fame?" Iacocca pushed back. He showed them market research, youth trends, Avanexes, about sales. But the more he tried, the more they said no. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was a boot was in charge, and Lee was stepping out offline. The meeting ended without approval. His idea was put away, buried under papers and pride. But Iacocca didn't walk away beaten. He walked away, determined, and that night he made another decision. If Ford wouldn't say yes to the project, then maybe it didn't need a yes at all. Something was about to start cooking in the shadows of Dearborn. It would be called the Mustang. Being told no didn't stop Iacocca, it fired him up. After the failed pitch, he began building his dream car in secret, not on paper, not in his head, but with real people, real money, and real danger. He formed a secret team, an official group working under their radar, hidden in Ford's big structure. No press releases, now watching, just quiet determination. Iacocca brought in engineers like Donald Frey and Hal Sperlich, rebels in their own way, who shared his belief that Detroit was missing the future. They worked nights and weekends, avoided corporate red tape. They hid money inside other projects just to pay for parts. On paper, it looked like nothing's special. In reality, they were creating a monster. The design came together fast. Sharp lines, short back, long front, bucket seats. It was unlike anything Ford had on the market, and they based it on the Falcon frame toe keep, costs low. Another smart move at that helped it stay hidden. They named it Project Mustang after the wild horse. Free, fast, wild. A car that could run anywhere for anyone. But this wasn't just fighting back. It was dangerous. If word got out, heads would roll. The team knew it, so did Lee. But to him, Thebagar danger was letting the future pass him by. Month by month, the Mustang began to take shape. And as its lineage got sharper, so did the risks. They were heading toward a crash with history. And nobody in the front office even knew it. Toyota. April 17, 1964. It's the New York World's Fair. Under the bright spotlight of one of America's big stages, Ford showed off a car that no Annie expected and everyone instantly wanted. The Mustang, sleek, small, affordable. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Car dealers across that country had barely gotten ready. Some had onion the lot, some had none. But as the Mustang roared into the spotlight, thephones lit up. Lines formed. Ford sold 22,000 cars on day one. By the end of the first year, they would sell over 400,000. The numbers shocked the industry. Competitors scrambled to catch up. Chevrolet panicked. Dodge had no answer. Even Ford's top bosses, those same men, laughed him out of the meeting room, where speechless. And Lee, he didn't say, "He told you so." He didn't have to. America had never seen anything like it. Its teens and 20-somethings flocked to car dealers. For many, it was their first car, their first taste of freedom. Ford had struck gold with culture, but only because one man broke the rules. Behind the excitement, behind the sales numbers and press tours, was the quiet win of a man who built it all behind closed doors. But the Mustang's launch wasn't the end of Iacocca's war inside Ford. It was just the beginning. The Mustang wasn't just a hit. It was a huge deal. By the end of its first year, it had broken every sales record in the book. Ford's car dealers were swamped. Assembly lines couldn't keep up. It became more than a car. It was movement. And suddenly, the same bosses who had made fun of the Idino wanted in. They smiled for cameras, claimed shared credit, praised the team effort behind the Mustang's success. Pleat inside the walls of Ford's executive offices, everyone knew the truth. It was Iacocca's baby. He hadn't just won. He'd outsmarted the very men who tried to shut him down. And Lee didn't let them forget it, one former cower caracled. He never said it out loud, but the look in his eyes said everything. He remembered who laughed at team. Iacocca kept it professional. Boothus rise through the company, Beckham Epicinal. He used the Mustang Cs to get even more power, gaining control over product planning, marketing, and new ideas. But with every win, the tension grew. He was no longer the underdog. He was a threat, especially to one man in particular, Henry Ford too. The Mustang had made Iacocca a star, and Ford didn't like sharing the spotlight. That praise wasn't the victory. That proving them wrong wasn't complete. Bakuza Bend, the closed doors of the glass house in Dearborn, anger was growing and power was shifting. The Mustang didn't just change Ford, it changed the entire industry. Within minutes of its launch, a new term entered the car world. Pony car. It described a new breed. Small, affordable, stylish, fast, cars aimed at younger buyers. The template is clear. Long front, short back, low price, and loads of attitude. And it all traced back to Iacocca's Mustang. But power is everything. And Iacocca's star was rising too fast for some Toynier. To the public, Lee Iacocca was Ford's golden boy. He smiled on magazine covers, gave interviews, rolled out hit after hit like the Mercury Cougar, that Reno, and the new Continental Marquis I. But behind the scenes, the tension between Iacocca and Henry Ford II was turning nasty. Henry Ford II, the grandson of the company's founder, was used to being the unquestioned boss. And now, here was Iacocca, charming, outspoken, wildly successful, tacking attention away from the family legacy. At first, Ford put up with him. Then Habagan, working against him, promotions were blocked. Big decisions were clenched. His projects were given away without warning. But Iacocca kept pushing forward. He played the corporate Texas game, handling boardroom politics while continuing to deliver wins. Was passed over for that presidency more than once, despite Bionek's obvious choice. Spy inside the company, groups formed. Some bosses backed Lee, others sided with Ford. The boardroom became a battlefield. One boss letter said it wasn't about cars anymore. It was about ego and who was going to give up first. Through it all, Iacocca never stopped fighting because he knew something Henry Ford didn't. The man who builds the future doesn't need permission. But eventually, Ford would strike back, and the cost would be everything it built. So by 1978, the internal war at Ford had reached its breaking point. Despite his continued success and growing popularity with the public, Lee Iacocca was walking on thin ice. Tensions with Henry Ford, too, had reached a boiling point. For every new thing Lee pushed forward, there was a roadblock. For every car he supported, a political countermove was made to work against it. Then came the final blow. On July 13, 1978, Iacocca was calidento a meeting. Henry Ford, too, was blunt. Sometimes, you just don't like somebody. That was his reason. No scandal, no performance failure, just ego, just power, just revenge. Iacocca was shocked, fired, forced to walk away from the company. He had changed. The man who saved Ford in the 60s was now thrown away like a used part. But what happened next? That's where the story turns Algendori. Only months later, Chrysler Corporation, about to go out of business, came knocking. Going broke was about to happen. Morale was crushed. No one thought it could have saved except Lee. He stepped in with fire in his chest and something Toporov. He got $1.5 billion in federal loan promises. He cut waste, reorganized leadership, and then Committee vehicles. The K-cars, the Dodgeries, the Plymouth Reliant, efficient, cheap, American. Then the crown jewel, the minivan, by 1983. Chrysler was making money again. By 1984, it was doing great. Lee Iacocca had been kicked out of Ford and then Hessoved their rival. Not for money, but for a legacy. Decades later, the Mustang still roars down highways and back roads. It's the symbol of the American muscle era, the sign of youthful rebellion, and the car that started 1,000 copycats. People know the car. They know the badge. They know the sound. But do they know the man behind it? Lee Iacocca's fingerprints are all over the Mustang. Its price point, its styling philosophy, its entire target group. He didn't shape the body panels or design dissension. But he created the idea. He put together the team. He fought their assistants. He took the risk, and Hewen. Yet, history has a funny way of smoothing down edges. As time passed, the Mustang became more connected with horsepower than with hustle. Boss's hand engineers were credited, marketers were praised, designers were celebrating Iacocca. Too often, he was forgotten. Some of that was political, some of it personal. After his firing, Ford distanced itself from his legacy. New generations of Mustang fans never knew the war behind its creation, but those who were there, they'd never forgot. One former Ford insider said, "That car exists because of Lee. Without him, it dies on a drawing board." And in the end, it wasn't. About headlines or statues. It was a bootlegacy about changing an industry. But before the curtain closes, there's one last chapter left, and it's the one that makes Iacocca more than a genius. It makes him a legend. Iacocca didn't just change Ford. He didn't just save Chrysler. He changed the American car industry forever. The Mustang wasn't just a business success. It was a cultural explosion. A car that started a category that reached into the hearts of a restless generation that proved vision matters more than titles and guts matter more than permission. But Iacocca's legacy doesn't stop with own car or one comeback. He stood before Congress to defend Chrysler when no one else would. He pushed fuel-efficient vehicles during an oil crisis. He pushed new ideas while others played it safe. And when the car industry looked dumbed, he reminded America what bold leadership looked like. He became a national icon. He wrote best-selling books. There was even talk of a presidential run, all from a man who had to sneak his car idea past his own company. But perhaps the most powerful part of his story, he did each haul with the memory of rejection burning in his mind. Every closed door, every boardroom laugh, every insult. He didn't just prove them wrong. He built what they never could. And when it was all said and done, when the last Mustang rolled off the line, and the final stockholder cheered at Chrysler's turnaround, Lee Iacocca didn't ask for applause, 'cause revengedoists need an audience. It needs results and the roar of that Mustang. That was his applause forever.